After 3 years of war and bloodshed, Donald Trump met with Vladimir Putin on Friday in Alaska. And you would think that the Democrats, the liberals, the news media would be ecstatic about that. But how did they portray what happened on Friday?
And one poll quote that we have: nothing says standing up to Russian aggression quite like welcoming the aggressor on a red carpet and applauding him. Tell folks what you think of what you thought about what you saw last night.
Well, it's interesting, Eugene, when the summit started, right, and we didn't understand what exactly was going to happen behind closed doors. I thought, even by Trump's standards, to welcome the accused war criminal and sanctioned Vladimir Putin to the United States for the first time in a decade, well, that's bad enough, but you can see, okay, Trump can justify that in terms of, the larger goal of peace. But when I saw from the get-go that Trump was going to welcome him, not only with the full red carpet, literally applauding Vladimir Putin, I thought, I could be wrong, but this is probably going to be the indelible image of the summit. 5 years from now, it may not have any larger historical resonance depending on what happens later with Ukraine. But we're always going to remember that Donald Trump clapped for Vladimir Putin as the first greeting between the two men.
Is that actually what played out?
Trump walked into the summit feeling confident. He held the cards and he greeted Putin on the tarmac. And he had F-22s and B-2 bombers fly over Putin's head. He was speaking Vladimir Putin's language of force. Putin, you can watch, is surprised when it happened. Trump looks up, and then all of a sudden Putin watches behind him. Putin appeared rattled. Trump owned the moment.
Owned the moment. Hi, I'm Pastor Marty. Welcome to the Afternoon Drive. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and once you are, smack the bell, click the word all. That'll give you notification of my rants, my ravings, my undeniably flawless reasonings. Please like and share this video. It's the only way that we can get the word out that we're here. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Afternoon Drive. At the making of this video, Donald Trump is currently meeting with Zelensky and European leaders as he reports back what his meeting with Putin was. Now, listening to the libloons over the weekend, those at PMSNBC, CNN, the new cutting-edge alternative media liberal pundits like Harry Tessen, this was an utter failure. Donald Trump groveled at the feet of Putin. Putin got everything he wanted. Putin didn't get anything. And the truth is this. Here's the bottom line. We don't really know what they talked about behind closed doors. Now, I'll tell you this. One thing that will be an absolute deal breaker for Putin will be if Ukraine is allowed to enter NATO. That's how this all got started. Remember, the actual Ukraine war started under Barackmas Obama's. And then it went into a ceasefire under Donald Trump. And then it picked back up under Joe Biden. And you follow the timeline on this. And where did Putin invade? The Donbas region. Why? Because Ukraine was actually bombing their own people, bombing the Donbas region. Why? The Donbas region, under the new lines that were drawn during the Obama administration, did not want to be part of Ukraine. They wanted to be part of Russia. That's why the original leader of Ukraine had favorable views of both the U.S. and Russia, and he worked with both. And our CIA decided, no, nay, he gotta go. Here comes Zelensky. We'll, once again, institute regime change, because that always works out so well for us. Now that didn't hack Putin off. The fact that under Biden, we started making these promises to Ukraine about NATO protection. I've said this illustration before. I will say it again. If Mexico struck a deal with Russia where Russia could put missile launchers on our southern border, do you think we would let that stand? Certainly not. Same is true. Ukraine making a deal with NATO to put defense systems on the Russian border, not going to stand. And part of the original treaty agreement was that Ukraine was not to be part of NATO. We were reneging on that and leading Zelensky to do it because we wanted this proxy war with Russia. Why? Because Biden and the grift and the fact that he had to pardon his whole family, the millions and millions his family got from Ukraine, this was the way we paid Ukraine back, to egg Russia into a war so that we could funnel money over there, not to fight Russia, but to line the pockets of the oligarch and the actual, the Zig Heil guys that actually run the military of Ukraine. Remember all that? And I said, when this is all over and done with, the peace that's going to finally be negotiated will be that Ukraine does not enter NATO and Russia wants to keep the Donbas region for two reasons. One, these are Russian people who want to stay part of Russia, and Russia wants that access to the port. Zelensky trying to say he will cede no land to the invader. Zelensky, you're the guy that's not in any position to saber rattle. You're not. What's going to come out of this today? And again, I'm not a mind reader. I'm not in the room. It's being explained to Zelensky and to the European leaders. Look, you guys want to provide some type of defense for Ukraine, that's fine. There's not going to be any American troops there. You want to buy weapons from us, I'll sell them to you. I'm not giving you anything anymore. You're not going to be in NATO. And we need to figure out a way that Russia keeps access to that port. And then I'll make sure Russia behaves himself, because Putin did admit, had Trump been in office, he'd have never gone back into Ukraine. So for all the hand-wringing, all the emotions, and Trump lost that day, he didn't lose anything. In fact, on CNN, they had to backtrack, and with the help of a former Bush advisor who's no Trump fan, admitted this.
I did advance for Vice President George Herbert Walker Bush, so I pay particular attention to the staging of these events. And I thought that the criticism was unwarranted. We forced, here, Tony, was this guy's name Tony? We forced Putin to walk a gauntlet of F-35s. As a B-2, flew overhead, I presume the same type of an aircraft that dropped that bomb on the nuclear facilities in Iran. I mean, I think there was a good message that was given to Putin as to American strength, and for making him feel warm so that Trump could try and cut a deal.